Did you hear Ursula von der Leyen's statement that Europeans or European nations need to show the same unity of purpose towards Africa? One purpose.
The region has become fertile ground to the rise of terrorism. This is of direct concern for Europe, for our security and our prosperity. So we need to show the same unity of purpose towards Africa.
This is Ursula von der Leyen, the European Union leader, that Europe or European nations need to show the same unity of purpose towards Africa, subjugation of Africa. She didn't say it outrightly, but she's saying for the security and prosperity of Europe, they need to unify towards Africa, just to keep on maintaining their ambition or their aim towards Africa, which is exploitation. Without Africa, like we always say, Europe is gone. Hear what she said about Russia in Africa, especially in the Sahel states, and how Europe will put plans and strategies in place against Russia and African relationship. But the resistance is on and nothing can stop it this time.
Think about the Sahel region, one of the poorest, yet fastest growing demographically. The succession of military coups will make the region more unstable for years ahead. Russia is both influencing and benefiting from the crisis, and the region has become fertile ground to the rise of terrorism. This is of direct concern for Europe, for our security and our prosperity. So we need to show the same unity of purpose towards Africa as we have shown towards Ukraine. This is a must. We need to focus on cooperation with legitimate governments and regional organizations. We need to develop a mutually beneficial partnership which focuses on common issues for Europe and Africa. And this is why, together with HRVP Borrell, we will work on a new strategic approach to take forward at the next EU-AU summit.
Over centuries of exploitation from Africa, Europe still wants to control Africa. Does it mean that Europeans has two heads while Africans has one? Or Africa is a sovereign continent with sovereign nations. Why is Europe so deeply interested in every ongoings or happening in Africa? After the Berlin Conference of 1884, up till this day, the modern neo-colonialism, Europe has never stopped trying to control Africa, and now accusing Russia of influencing Africa and benefiting from Africa. With our emphasis on the Sahel states, Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger, the other Sahelian states, if these countries are poor, why does Ursula von der Leyen or the European Union want to keep on interfering into the countries that are poor? They should let them be. Why is it that Europe wants to keep Africa in perpetual poverty? With strategies, according to her, does anybody in Africa make decisions on what happened in Europe? But Europeans, during their conference or summit, make decisions on what happens in Africa. With over 250 years of exploitation of African resources, Europe wants to still strategize. She said in her own words that they're going to put strategies in place to make sure that Russia does not interfere with Africa. The hypocrisy of Europe accusing Russia of benefiting from African crisis, influencing Africa to benefit from Africa, you can see that this has gone on for too long. Europe saying that they want to help Africa or save Africa from Russia. They are all there for their interest. There has never been a time Europe had interest of Africa at heart. Africa is a testing ground for the world powers to test and implement their influence or values. Europe, Asia, all wanting to enforce and develop their values or influence on African soil. Most of these problems Africa faces today were as a result of diseased or never working policies and systems introduced by Europe during the colonial era. Let's look at it this way. Why does Europe want to always have influence in Africa? Because of the resources it gets from Africa. Aside that, Europe has a very aged and declining population. So they need to bridge up the gap by allowing migrations from Africa into Europe. Unlike Europe, Africa has everything it needs to develop to be the best in the world. It has the resources, the human capacity, apart from bad leaders who are puppets in the hands of the European powers. The European Union is scared that with Russia's presence in Africa, that it might teach Africa the know-how, the technology it needs for development. And that is what Europe does not want for Africa. With Africa having the right kind of leaders, youthful population, technology, and also the resources that is already available in African continent, Africa can build and become the world class or first class nations in the world. And that is what the Europe does not want Africa to have. Europe checks African countries through high debt loans, strangling loans, instabilities, pro-European or pro-Western governments that in turn makes African continent or African countries less developed. And youths in Africa flock to Europe through migrations, mass migrations, sometimes through the sea, high dangerous seas, just to cross over to Europe. This is one of the reasons why Europe is always in the affairs of Africa. The benefit that Europe has gotten from Africa cannot be equated with what Europe has done in Africa. Let me know what your thoughts are on this. Drop your comments in the comment section. Please like, share, and subscribe. See you in the next one. Thank you so much.